Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to today's edition of Prime Hour on My Media Prime. This evening, we're going to be looking at our local, regional, and national representatives, asking how they render accounts to members of their respective constituencies and whether they actually hold strong to the values of social contract between them and those who voted them to represent them. Also, we are going to be looking at what it would take to tame our very hostile members of the diaspora. Why are they angry with Cameroon? Is there something that can be done by the Cameroon government, by civil society in the nation, as well as themselves to make sure that we bridge the gap that exists, the gap of understanding that exists between Cameroon and its diaspora. We are discussing these two topics with panelists who are in the house already. Our permanent consultant is here, Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa. Good evening. We are glad to have you.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. Welcome to today's show. Good evening, my co-panelists, Dr. John and Mr. Ernest. It's a joy to be here today. God bless you as you stay across this program throughout this evening.
We also are in the company of Dr. John Aku. He is a lecturer across some universities in Cameroon, also very active member of Cameroon Civil Society. Good evening, Doctor. Welcome.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine. Once more again, talking Cameroon and issues affecting Cameroonians. It is always, in fact, a glutton heart when you talk on issues affecting Cameroon, though with a very dark-minded, obsolete, highly destroyed elite that has been unable to bear the responsibility before their people.
You're also an elite. You're an elite from Miami.
Yes, I don't cancel that. But
I
believe what I'm doing presently as an elite, purposely defending the rights of the people, we are being appreciated by a lot of Cameroonians, and I think the decisions where the past are should make the right order.
We also in the company of Ebui Ernest, Mayor, very active member of Cameroon Civil Society. He does lots and lots of things. I don't want to reveal them here. We're glad to have him.
Yeah, good evening, Leo. It's a pleasure being here again on my Media Prime. I want to give a shout out to Media Prime faithful viewers, as we're going to be discussing the things that are affecting us in our society, trying to paint a picture of what we should actually understand, like our role and what we are supposed to actually expect from those who represent us.
Okay. We are going to start with you, Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa. Do you, when you interact, observe, and read through the lines of our local elected officials to represent Cameroonians both at the municipal, legislative, and all the levels, do they have that sense of knowing that they have to render account of what they are doing on behalf of the people?
There is nowhere in this country and no time in this country, either through written history or told history, that we've seen municipal authorities, legislative authorities give account of their activities. A clear example is that most of the people who are elected into offices are elected by the people, and I think they owe the people a responsibility to give an account of their services rendered to the people who voted them into office. For instance, I think an MP should come in the next elections or next year campaign to attest of what he did with the previous year and money that was handed to him. But that is not the case. It is not the case. They come again with promises that they gave the last year and pick a few persons in the committee, oil their mouth, and then the gullible people and vulnerable people still fall into the same trap of voting them again without any credibility. How do you explain that MPs are elected every 5 years and senators and councillors are elected in communities, yet there is no development in those communities, and those MPs are supposed to be the representatives of the people, that go sit in the glass house and bring back report on behalf of the people. Most of the people equally do not even know what happens in the glass house, because I think if an MP goes to the glass house, he's more of an envoy and a messenger of the people, and he's supposed to come back. In those days in the village, an MP was the man that carried the gong, that when there is a challenge in the community, he's the one that goes around, collect the message, and then calls everyone aware that there is something going on here. How do we know that our community is even recognized in the parliament when our MPs do not even tell us what happens about us in the parliament? In countries like Ghana, the parliament cross-checks and investigates from primary school headmasters to secondary school principals. They come and defend the budget of their institutions every year before the MPs. But you see, in Cameroon, it's very unfortunate that in our parliament, people come to defend budget every year as ministers, but they don't come back to give an account of what the budget was used for. So I think what is left and what did they accomplish so far? They were supposed to practically come with screen display of the project I've accomplished so far and the amount of budget invested. But every year we hear Minister of Secondary Education, Minister of Agriculture defended this budget. Then we don't see them come back at the end of the year to say, we invested this budget in this thing and we're come to give an account on what we invested. So it is but difficult to find out who senators and municipal councillors as well as MPs give their reports to every year. So we don't have that, except if I'm wrong, I stand to be corrected. I've not seen it anywhere in this country.
Okay. Do you see our MPs or our senators, do they actually take time out to meet the people and tell them that, well, we want to thank you for sending us to Yaoundé, or maybe at the municipal level, you gave us your mandate, this is what we have been able to achieve, and we were not able to do this because of these problems?
I believe somewhere, if you are doing greatly, I believe not like propagating. You can imagine somebody like Mbelamoke Charles that did greatly for the municipality of Boya. Equally, we can talk of recent of Ngala Richard, who has been doing well in the Ngala Gerard, sorry, who has equally been doing well. We have been seeing him and the stability we have witnessed in places like Ambe. He has taken a lot of credibility, but somewhere the situation is still uncalled for. Uncalled in the sense that a lot of MPs even live out of their municipality. A lot of mayors spend a lot of their times in the cities, and they will always tell you that they were on a business trip. And a lot of us, we know what becomes of a lot of mayors in many of these areas. When we become a mayor, it is time for them to amass something for themselves, to create new grounds for themselves, and again to get into more other dimensions. Some willing that after the office, they will equally pick up a new and a better appointment. That is what drives a lot of people into politics. They will tell you that politics is not to serve a general interest. Politics first is to serve the interests of those who run and even manage the politics. Others will tell you that if the head of state, President Paul Biya, does not render account to even Cameroonians, who are they to render account to the people they represent? They have, some will even equally again tell you that they don't even represent the people because they were appointed by the party to represent the people. So we have seen in many areas, imagine at the height of the Anglophone crisis when we conducted municipal and parliamentary or senatorial elections, a lot of them were elected while they were in Yaoundé, and so no primaries were conducted in such area. How do such people render account to them? When you look at what we call in modern democracies, like what we find in Ghana, like what we even find in Nigeria, you find that before you are even voted, it is what we call a plan of action. You are voted because people think that that plan of action of yours represents and may carry upon the will of the people. And even participating in congressional or what I call parliamentary debates or even in municipal debates, some people simply fold their hands, mouth shut off, and just waiting for the right time when budget is voted or when their micro projects financing are being ditched out. So it becomes a problem to see that the same process for those who are elected, thinking that they were not elected and that they were appointed and that the barons of the party had more favor in him, he will still win and he will still present. He will still present the next mandate, and he knows very well that he will win as far as he keep on lubricating in the same path that he came in. And you can see that at times that they will tell you that it is turn by turn, meaning it is a turn for them to eat, and that when they go away, others will still come and do the same thing. And this is how third generation, I call third world countries like Cameroon have been suffering in what we call democracy. Democracy, to some extent, you can imagine that people said it is a luxury for some African nations, including Cameroon, which they are thinking that it is far-fetched because people still live in what we call traditional society. So a lot of those who represented the people never came in that position to represent the people. They were not even voted by the people. So how do they render account to them? We have seen members of parliament won an election without even participating in what we call campaign. So what does this really tell us? At the primaries, he was not present. At the day, election day, he's not even in the city. He voted far off from his base. It becomes a worry. So these are some of the ideas I believe if we have to fix everything. Yes, the law states that once you are a member of parliament, once you are voted, you represent the interests of the whole nation. Yeah. But does that mean that the municipality you represent, their own voices should not be heard?
That is what many persons have brought up today when I announced that we were going to discuss this. If you are an MP for the nation, what stops you from rendering account to the nation?
Yeah, that is what I'm saying, that we need that top position of the head of state. It is not like we are talking about Ukraine. You cannot imagine how many times Joe Biden has taken upon the podium to explain to Americans. This is rendering accounts. You cannot imagine how many times Harris, the vice president, how many times what we call the state propaganda agent, the porte-parole at White House, how many times they're in front of the press. Then you look at Cameroon, we are over 6 years in a crisis. The president of the republic has addressed the nation once. The way forward, it is a practice that starts from the top. So when you look at it, when one pocket incident happens in the Northwest, you find the Minister of Communication issuing a communique, and others even threatening journalists on what and why they should say what they are not supposed to say. It is a democratic institution which we think that practice must start from the top. And if the top cannot carry out basic responsibility, then those people who are beneath simply follow the trend.
Good evening to you, Rinda Clovis. Good evening, Mr. Leo, panelists in the house. I'm writing from Bahrain. Good evening to you. Sangwe Ebenezer says greetings to the house. I'm watching from upstation Bomenda in Fort Franklin. Says good evening, Mr. Leo. From Franklin is also watching from Bahrain. Mark Amos Andy, hello, Mr. Kum and honorable panelists. Good evening to you. Gonza Wilson, greetings, Mr. Leo, and to the panelists. Great job you guys are doing week in, week out. My media prime is changing the game. Thank you very much. And to all of you watching via our Facebook page, keep the messages coming. We're glad to note that you are following. Now, we're talking about accountability. We saw the issue with the telephone tax. It passed through the parliament. The MPs are the ones who voted for it. And it is when the population, social media raised the issue that it took the president of the republic to reverse that law that was already voted by the representative of the people, even without the MPs explaining to the people that as we went into session, we deliberated on a certain tax, so you guys should be waiting for a tax that is coming. The amounts that are going to be collected from these taxes is going to augment your living standards in this or this domain. Why is it so difficult to do this, Mr. Ernest?
Yeah, Cameroon has been through a lot, and we understand that for any institution to be re-functional, there needs to be effective communication. You understand that the communication is actually one of the things that is driving this country crazy. The communication is poorly done. You understand that in yesteryears, when the country was relatively stable, when our PMs were voted, I mean, our MPs were voted, when they get to Yaoundé after a parliamentary session, they will have to come back to their constituency to have a Meet the People's Tour. So in this Meet the People's Tour, it was in this outings that they pronounce a political discourse that would like be a certain form of rendering of accounts. But today, looking at the context in which we are, most MPs cannot go about freely in their various constituencies, like for instance in the Northwest and the Southwest, where their lives are always under threat. So they cannot go about again giving these accounts. Even our municipal representative councillors, they cannot go about giving this account. It has now become something that we don't see often. So it will be difficult to expect them to actually reach out to the people like they were supposed to do. You know, when you're voted like an MP, you have a multifaceted cap that you put on. First of all, you represent the nation that as an MP. Then you represent also your constituency. In your constituency, you're looked upon as somebody who defends the interests of the constituency. You could defend it through advocating for a project, lobbying for projects, lobbying for social amenities. That's what MPs mostly do with their connections. So I see that most of them in most areas carry out these activities, and they are like really responsible to their people.
Yeah, but the problem is, let us take the case of the MPs or senators from the Southwest and Northwest regions who may not be able to access these areas because of the ongoing crisis. But we have MPs across the other 8 regions. Are they doing that? And if an MP cannot go to, say, to Acquire to explain what he or she is doing, what stops them from using the media? How many persons can you readily talk to, render account to in a meeting in one village? Like because you are representing a constituency cuts across a division, across many villages.
Like I said, we are actually neglecting that aspect of communication, which is very essential to carry information across and justify certain decisions that we are taking. So I don't think our elected representatives are doing enough of that communication. So it is actually a lacuna in their part, and we really need to see how that could be stepped up, because it is not something that is intentionally done, but it's just that emphasis has not been laid on it.
Okay. Good evening to you, Kudian Crossland, and to you, Nadesh Brenda, Morino Nino. We are glad to know that you are watching us from Turkey. Ndum Rene, good evening to you, and to you, Maestro Elad Efon, watching from Minnesota. Oh, you're in Etas. TPN, the last man standing, greetings. You're watching us from Bangkok in Thailand, and to Tifen Ndukum, watching from the land of the forefathers. Now, Apostle Ambe, Valentine, and Ngwa, we are talking about rendering account. Let's look at the relationship, the rapport, that social contract that exists between municipal elected officials, legislative officials, and all of them in that rank. Do they keep the rapport that we see between them and the electorates during campaigns? How accessible are they? And if they are not readily accessible, how do you even gather what the people need so that you articulate them at the instances where you are representing them?
How many legislators or municipal councillors have you seen discuss with the masses after they have voted? That should be the million-man question. Because most of the time, those people are available when they need your votes. As soon as they are done with their votes, they never come across your path anymore. You are just good there to give them your votes, and if at all you're going to give them the votes, you give them the votes and they find their way out. They come back only when they are coming again to ask for another vote. We have seen a video circulating on social media where a parliamentarian carried bags of rice to a certain community in Ghana. And the Ghanaians gathered those bags of rice, dumped it in his car, and told him that they needed electricity, they needed roads, they needed water. They did not need a bag of rice. That is to let you understand that people are getting enlightened. But Mali says you can fool some people sometimes. You can't fool all the people all the time. I think communities are getting better orientation of who is supposed to be an MP and the responsibility of an MP. There is no connection, especially in a Cameroon context, because most, for instance, like what is happening in North and South, most of our MPs are not home. Municipal councillors are not home. So how do you understand what the people are going through for you to submit them in the glass house? An MP spends a year in Yaoundé, some spend years in Douala, and then you expect such a person to know if there is water shortage or food shortage or disease or shelter challenges or bad road in their community when they hardly go there. They don't go there because of the crisis in question. Go to other regions where the MPs have access to their communities. Most of the MPs who live in those communities are so much interested in what they can gain, because the amount of money, first and foremost, that is paid for an MP in this country cannot even help them do anything. The salary of an MP is about 900,000, and he has a micro grant of about 8.5 million. While an MP is paid in Nigeria 12 million per month, and a senator is paid 36 million a month. Look at the gap. So how do you even get money to invest in your community? Sometimes the MPs will not just blame them completely, because they are at some certain tight corners that even the finances that they need to carry out projects in the community, you may be forced to go and touch your personal account or even enter into your own private budget if you have to do something substantial for your community. Micro grants, 8.5 million. What can someone do with 8.5 million? Is it a road you will tar? Is it electricity you will bring? Is it borehole water you bring in that community? Or is it a primary school you're going to build? How much can 8 million do for an MP as micro grant within 5 years in office? That money multiplied times 5 gives you 42.5 million. Has it been enough to build a house for an MP? What is his own benefit as rendering services to the nation? So you discover that even the package given to the MPs sometimes is a bit difficult for them to carry out developmental activities in their communities. And to municipal councillors, you want to go and step into what they get. Most of them get finances through sessions. Sessions hold sometimes once in a while, and then a municipal councillor goes home with 200,000. Some of them, sometimes, if the regional councillors, if sessions hold, they can go home with 4 million. Now look at the amount of money. The finance is too meager for an MP or a municipal councillor to do something substantial in their communities. So if at all we want to blame the MPs, we should also talk about the package.
Yeah, but I'm not sure anybody is blaming. The issue is, if the package is very small, by the time you were making campaigns to go represent them, I'm sure you already had done some studies on what it would take for you to represent them.
Of course.
And once in office, what stops you from saying that this is the small amount I've had, it is just 4 million. This is how I intend. That is just rendering account.
Mr. Leo, how many MPs do you find accept invitation on TV platforms?
That is why we are doing the program also.
That is where the trouble is, because the MPs are even afraid to come sit on air and speak. They may speak and go against the ethics of the party that may cost their office in the next session. That is risky. And because they don't even have that courage to stand and communicate, most of them die in silence. Most of them are tight. They're in tight corners. They can't communicate. That's the reason why if you invite an MP on a TV program, it looks like you are carrying him to hellfire. Why will you go and sit there and speak? Should you go and say something that will cost him tomorrow his office? That's what we are talking about here. Even if you cannot come on the media, I think the same strategy you use to communicate during campaign, you can go and gather the community in the village square and say, okay, since I'm not doing on the media, let me talk to people in the village square. As soon as see and so, money will give that parliament, now 8 million they give me. Now the 8 million francs they give me for me, I never get my own share for inside. So for Constance, I spend for Wuna, it's going to be very expensive. But this is what I can think I can do for the community. When you do that, you give an impression that you have a sincere heart to build the community, but the means.
There was a session recently. Who among the MPs has come out to tell the people that, okay, we voted so and so law because it is going to work in your interest in this manner. We have senators. We're only talking about MPs, but we have senators. We have municipal councillors, because when you go to the municipalities, you find people who can kill to become municipal councillors. Once they become municipal councillors, do they actually go back to their quarters to say, I went there on your ticket, this is what I'm doing?
The situation of municipal councillors in Cameroon is even better. Okay. Better in the sense that a lot of them live within the community. And I'm telling you that if there is somewhere they can easily evaluate, that is why you find it difficult to maintain a mayor. You find it difficult to maintain a municipal councillor. But you find parliamentarians and senators being maintained, which means that the right to maintain you at the level of the municipality depends on the electorate. When you look at what others have done, you will begin to believe that the municipalities are more active even than senators and parliamentarians. This gives us an idea why there is that alternate mandate within municipalities. So those whom the electorate are feeling that they did not really represent them in the last mandate are easily replaced. But the problem we are saying here is that at the level of, because when you look at the municipalities, they have little or no budget to function on. A municipality has no, in fact, no real financial power to carry out certain projects. And so which means that they count on the small, we call them queries, that they have to maybe collect funds from queries or other agricultural product to make up the municipality. Where we have the problem are those we call the members of parliament or the Senate, where you think, and we still feel, that they believe very strongly that as their salaries keep on passing and that the party is not being heard. I want to tell you that in 1966, Cameroon became a one-party state, and it took us again about 20 years after, or 24 years after, in 1990 to declare the 1990 liberty laws, which were given a mandate again to select. When you compare these two mandates, it begins to give you an idea that parliamentarians and senators in Cameroon, though voted by the people, but it's a sham process. A sham process in the sense that some people whom we have seen defeated at the level of the primaries, the majority party in Cameroon is the CPDM. They will tell you clearly that you cannot go for parliament. Let that other person go. They will tell you it's a base of party, that within party discipline, you did not maybe make up for one of the criteria to represent the party at the level of the National Assembly. Imagine that again. In another extent, those who do not act, don't act in line with parties' agenda, you have seen them being sidelined or kicked out like people who meant nothing. So this has created a lot of fear. I mean, it has deterred those parliamentarians within, because the party we have a problem here is the CPDM party. We have been seeing what we call the movie that have always been orchestrated by the SDF party at the level of the National Assembly and the Senate. But it is difficult. You have a majority, what they call majority in parliament, and a lot of senators and parliamentarians pass their time sleeping on the decks. Why are they sleeping on the decks? They know that as the bill was written by their party, there is no need to debate about it. If you ask a lot of questions, I'm telling you that the next mandate will not even be for you. So how can a majority party fail to carry on debates to even incite for the interest of the nation what is good for the nation? Once it can support and is in line, what they call in line with parties' objectives, if it is to steal, like we have just seen with the contract, the mining contract somewhere around Lobe in Kribi, that a lot were okay. If not of the opposition leader, Cabral Libi, he would have just been a sham. He would have just been caught up in a web maybe 10 years after to start revising such a contract. There is a need for parliament to render, or parliamentarians to render account to their people. But then in Cameroon, I'm telling you that we are still in a traditional society. A traditional society in the sense that he who pay the piper equally should call for the tune. So since I'm being paid by the government, I'm being paid by the CPDM party, I cannot fight the party. Many parliamentarians, at times that money you even see, end up in a lot of what we call the senior people within the same rank of the party. That your money, how much did you bring to Yaoundé? In fact, it's been long that I took a whiskey from you. You will get a lot of such questioning. And once that money has been shared equitably, I'm telling you, these are things that goes on within the Cameroonian political atmosphere. Once that money is shared equitably, you have no problem. They will elect you next election. and that is from the party. If the party is asking for 2 million from you, where do you think a member of parliament will have 2 million to contribute for party's campaign, if not from the same budget you have given him? Because we know his salaries, we know his expenditure. For him to get a plus to support the party, and if that is being done within party's objective, he gave us 2, 3, 6 million last time, he has a right to represent the people. He has been spending a lot. So for you to represent your people becomes your contribution to the party and not your contribution to the electorate. So you render account to the head and not to the tail. This is just how Cameroon politics works.
Good evening, Emmanuel Ekombang, Obikam Frank. Good evening to you, Michael Ban and Ted Nongni. We turn now to you. How do we get our MPs, those who are representing us at the level of the instances that we know, to start rendering account? Is it not also the population that is not asking, pressing for accounts to be rendered? They just vote you and they wait till 5 years after for you to come back with maybe a bag of rice. Are we not also very docile?
Yeah, Mr. Leo, I think we are sleeping quiet because, you know, we are still in that era where most of us are uninformed on our rights and duties. So we will not be in that position to question somebody we already consider as somebody who is already that he knows everything. When you send somebody to Yaoundé and he comes back at the level of the village, what we believe is that he already knows everything, and then we are almost afraid to ask that person a question or to approach them. They are like demigods in our societies. So he who thinks or who even attempts to like say we should question this person, he'll be like, you are trying, you want to question him? So it is good for us to create that awareness that we are supposed to receive feedback of the activities of the MPs, the senators, and the municipal councillors as they are working, as they give us account, be it through any communication platform like social media, TV, radio, so that the community also are informed and be able to make better decisions when they are choosing next their representatives.
But Apostle Ambe, why can an MP not, an MP, a senator, not a right? They have communication offices here, especially the councils. But what is difficult in say every Friday, I'm going to invite the media to talk to the people, or you go to a radio station in Boya or in Bomenda or wherever and inform the people that every Friday at this time, I'll be updating you on what we have done this week, what we've done the past month for the senators, for MPs and others. Is it that they are unaware?
No, you can create such a program where you have something to tell people.
Okay.
Where you have nothing to tell people, what are you creating? You should be able to have something you have done. When an MP stays for 5 years in power and is unable to bring even clean water in a community, I think you should be going on radio and television to say what you have done. And if you have not done anything, you are going to disgrace yourself. So most of them don't do anything. Most, I didn't say all. They don't do anything, so it's even difficult for them to come to the radio and television to communicate. How do you explain that you are an MP in the community for 5 years? There's no classroom you erected. There's no roads you tarred. There is no water you brought in the community, not even electricity. How many children did you give scholarship to go to school that year? How did you intervene in treating sicknesses in that community? The health center or the dispensary in your community, did you buy any equipment? Because I know how arrogant we Africans are. If somebody does something, even in this modern age, those who are not MPs, they do little things in communities, they flaunt it all over social media. Then talk less of somebody who is looking for the attention of the people, trying to win the conscience of the people. As an MP, if he does something, he will flaunt it on media. That's the reason why when you see most of these people who do a little thing, some few things like MPs in certain communities, you will discover that media is always there. Even those who are campaigning to become MPs tomorrow, those who have not even disclosed their intention of becoming MPs, once they do some things in the community, they will start flaunting on social media to attract the attention of the people that they are the ones who are going to, who are reigning right now. So if you say an MP should go to the radio or to a television to discuss something, and he has nothing to discuss, he has nothing he has accomplished, he has nothing he has done so far. He's been sleeping in Hotel de Ville from January to December, changing girls, changing ladies, and then enjoying his money sleeping in air-conditioned hotel. What do you expect me to go and see television and say, I was an MP or I am an MP for so-and-so community? I slept with 16 girls in Hotel de Ville this year. Is that an accomplishment? No. So I think, like, if you go to most communities, municipalities in America, most of the mayors there, they have community radios where they use it to communicate what they have done so far in their communities. I think if at all communities like municipalities, the mayors were doing something substantial, such municipalities will have radio stations that they come on air to communicate. I've traveled to other countries. I've been to Nigeria, and I'll go, you will see NTA, Aba, NTA, Enugu, NTA, Anambra. That NTA, that's Nigerian Television Authority, is the governor of that place that is communicating his accomplishment through that media to the people. That is because the governor is doing something substantial for the state. It's accomplishing projects. So if you tell an MP to come on television, go on a radio, or sit on social media to communicate something, it should be an MP who has accomplished something. We are seated here, we have not gone to Ambe, but we have been able to see what Honorable Ngarajara has done, because why? The media. No MP will do something in a community without announcing it. We are here. We did not go to Boya to see what Senator Mbelamoki did. The media exposed it. You can sit here and there is an MP in the north who does something, they will do it and put it on social media. The rest of the MPs who are quiet and have not said anything because they have not accomplished anything to put on social media. Because I know politicians. Politicians will never do anything that will attract the attention and the consciences of people without making it public in order to have a good name, because politics is all about having a good name and to win the conscience of people. So if you will see a greater portion of the MPs refusing to come up and communicate. Nobody is on air who does not want praises. There is nobody. I have seen people who have bought bags of rice to go and give to 2-3 widows. They will snap it and put it on social media because everybody wants to attract applause from people. I have seen people who have taken care of one widow somewhere, they put it on social media and even do a documentary about it. I've seen men who have gone and taken care of one blind man, not even MPs. Then talk less of somebody who is doing that to win the attention and the votes of people. If he does something, he will come on air. So if they are not coming on air, it means they have nothing they have done and they have nothing they have accomplished. I know a few MPs in Cameroon. For instance, Honorable Frise Toke, he did a lot of things in school subdivision. I was there when he was distributing books for school resumption without any publicity. I was there when he gave scholarship to children to go to school. I was there when he organized a march for peace to reconcile children during the period of the crisis in Southwest. I was there when he gave food to orphanages. I was there when he gave food to widows. All those things are over the media because every MP or intending MP who intends to go into office, the little they do as a campaign strategy, they will do it and call the attention of the entire state. So if you see our MPs are refusing to come on air, it's not because they don't like. They don't have things that they can bring on air as evidence that will cause the masses to praise them and appreciate them. Till tomorrow, I know politicians, whether they are municipal councillors or mayors or MPs or whatever, if the mayor of Tiko is doing a great job, he has done the pave, how they call this pave stuff in English, somewhere around Tiko there. He has done it. You see, it has to go on air. People will see such things. And these are the things that when people are accomplishing feats in the society, they can never hide it. Whether you are a parliamentarian, an ordinary individual, even pastors, whom the Bible says what the right hand is doing, the left hand should not know. They have bypassed that scripture. Now they are doing the right hand, the left hand is knowing. When pastors share rice, community must know. When they share clothes, community must know. When they give Gary somewhere, community must know. They put it on social media. I was in this community today. As I should help out my society. Even you are here, Mr. Leo. Even if you do something tomorrow in your village, the media will carry it. Because nobody will do good and doesn't want the community to know about it. So talk less of MPs who are looking for offices in the glass house. They will definitely want to announce every little good thing they do.
Certainly, I'm deciding to give back to the two schools that I passed through, GBHS Womb, where I was senior prefect, and GHS Womb, where I was senior prefect. I'm deciding to also reach out to 10 students in whom I'm sure tomorrow they're going to be just to say congratulations for the work they are doing and to inspire them to also do more. So
this is you here. You don't even have an intention or to become an MP. You are just doing it, yet the media is carrying it. Then talk less about MP.
The media is there.
Who has an office?
The media
is it no communication? This media taking it away. So they don't have anything to say. That's why they are not coming on it.
No, but let's look at this, the aspect of social contracts. The people are sitting in Mancon today. Others are in Yabasi, behind here. Others are in Edea, in far north. They know that they have MPs. They know they have senators. They know they have mayors. Do they sit in their respective homes and ask themselves that, but these people, if they have to articulate laws on our behalf, if they have to carry out activities or projects in the municipalities on our behalf, they hardly really come to us. How do they even imagine that their interests are going to be reflected of them?
In fact, this is where the Cameroonian legal system failed. If you read very well, the United States Constitution will tell you that for you to be a member of Parliament or Senate, you must prove resident in the state you are representing. Yes. Mm-hmm. You can imagine that. Prove resident not for 1 year, at least 5 years. You prove resident of at least 5 years. But when you look at the people we voted here or that are voted here as parliamentarians, you imagine that somebody stopped his business in Yaoundé or Limbe or Douala and want to represent the people of Fumbot. So he lives here to Fumbot and then wins election. At the time, they had sponsored the party. They said he has been in the party. So is it the interest of the people? Where do you even meet him to present the worries of the people? We are here. You can imagine that this is the 6th year of the Anglophone crisis. Away from Joseph Weber, who has uttered a word that is people are not comfortable with what is going on in Cameroon. So where do you meet such people? You will see a lot of such bias because the individual still feels that working against the interests of the government rather than the interests of his people, he might not receive the next mandate. Just like Apostle Ambe just made mention here. You cannot be coming to see a people which at the beginning you were there on election day and after election you disappear. You are going to appear again in the next election and asking the people to give you the same mandate. Have they ever seen you? And then you find we are surprised that the same people that we criticize, that they can never win the next mandate, they had won the mandate. So that proves it to you that it is not your vote that matters. The quotas that appointed me matters. So we cannot, the social contract was stated by Rousseau that we all sacrifice. We sacrifice our personal liberty for a common leadership. When that leadership cannot render account again to the same people who forgo their individual liberty for him, know that his power is coming from somewhere else. And that individual believes in the powers above him than the powers beneath him. And that is what comes with more dictatorial system. Systems that people clamor democracy in overt and practice dictatorship in decision making. When they are kept together, they start telling, when they are alone, you find them not taking the contrary decision. Those who give a lot of praises on the day of election, you will not find them there when mandate has fully been handed to them. How do the local man find an MP to even write a motion? We are talking of Nigeria. I mean, just nearby. Let people not say we are talking of the United States. Governors and even representatives present their project to their people. And at the end of the mandate, people are going to vote or elect you based on what you have done. And in Cameroon, what do we have? What can an MP tell the people that I did it for you people? He will still win the next mandate. That's what we are saying. At the level of the Senate, you will imagine that more than 75% of senators that were there in the last mandate are still in the House. But when you ask them, they themselves, they are aware that the last mandate I never spent up to 5 days in my municipality. How do you present the people the presence, the worries of your municipality? So there is no link. A social contract is given in, and it is a moral obligation. When that part is ignited, you find a representative dining regularly with their people. You cannot be a parliamentarian, you pass your time on a parliamentary flat in somewhere in Yaoundé, and then your municipality is crying of a common borehole. They don't have borehole. Children still trek kilometers to attend primary school. A small bridge over the village, which people can even just a common plank. People still trek and cross water on foot, and then the other side. You are unable to fix a bridge that may just, even if it is a temporal base. There are a lot of those things we have been saying. What of farm to market roads? Some people used to, in the past, try to take upon themselves to even grade their roads. Do some of those projects that can bring the community together. Socially, politically, economically. Why not culturally? Sponsor small symposium that bring the community closer to you so that you can communicate your ideas to them. A lot of them can't even think of it. Like we said, they took the initiative to come to the people when they needed their votes. After their votes, their power started coming from somewhere else. Parties start controlling them. The dons of the party who led them to that particular positions are now more glorified than the very people who elected them. So at times, just the vote doesn't count. They have more from those who elected them or those who appointed them to that particular position.
Okay, lots of messages coming in. Let me take what the people think about this topic for tonight. The MP, senators, councillors give account to those who fit their mouth and pockets. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Emmanuel is writing from Ngeme. Ngeme is in Limbe. Good evening to you all. This is Michael writing from Boya. Before the creation of the two houses, upper house and lower house, Cameroonians experienced bad road and poor drinking water. After creating the two houses, there is still no road and drinking water. This group of people have no value to us Cameroonians. My proposal is the government should pass an order that if an MP is sick, let him go to his community and have treatment. By so doing, they will take things serious. Okay? Yeah, that is a proposal. I'm sure there's a country where they say this guy should not go fly out for medical attention.
Yeah, Tanzania, Magufuli brought in a lot of innovations.
Mr. Leopold Ako is because I have worked with them as how they are. I don't know. You say your volume is not coming out. Good evening to you all in the studio. George from Bamenda. I totally disagree with Dr. Ako, John. Parliamentarians in Cameroon are not elected by people. Elekam choose them for us, okay? Good evening, Mr. Liu and the panelists. I'm enjoying the program. It's Ngwa writing from Douala. This one says, greetings to you, Mr. Liu and co-panelists. Your program is wonderful, and to you, Dr. Ako. If we have 20 who can stand for the truth like you here in this nation, then it will be a better place. It's David from Limbe. Our leaders cannot really meet to our needs because they do not have conscience to do so, but it's because the regime has locked them up and off by limiting them of what to do and what to say. Our leaders are not wicked, but they have less to produce and to give. Okay, we are moving straight to a second topic for tonight, which has to do with the diaspora in Cameroon. Can we understand, I'll start with you, Ernest, can we understand why Cameroon's diaspora, to a larger extent, is hostile towards the nation?
Yeah, Mr. Leo, it has been something we have actually noticed of recent, that Cameroonians who are in the diaspora are actually hostile towards the nation.
Not everybody, yeah?
Not everybody, yeah. That is what I wanted to highlight. And you have to understand that most often when we have stubborn children in families that can afford them air tickets, they prefer to send them out, that they should go there and struggle. When these children go out there, they become failed cases because they have not been trained on how to work. And they look back at the demands of the society there for them to work, and it becomes difficult. Some people actually just go out in search of greener pastures, and they still encounter difficulties. And you look at back at home, the situation is not the best. You will see that our opportunities here are limited, and our educational training do not actually permit us to create value for ourselves. So everybody who moves out and looks back at what is happening within the executive structure, I mean the administration in Cameroon, and feels that it is because of this poor management that they are in a mess out there, being attacked with racism, being abused in all different ways. They will have to look back at the country from where they originated, where everything was supposed to be bread and butter for them, but has turned out the bad way for them to go again and experience other difficult situations out there. They will turn back to look at this country with a lot of disdain, and it will always provoke that kind of heightened disregard, disrespect, and hatred for the country. So it is really a complex situation that we really need to work into seeing how it can be addressed.
Okay, so the diaspora is angry because maybe they are faced with many challenges out there because to them the government did not take care of them.
The government
exposed them to
other vices of xenophobia, racism that they face out there, and it's really hard because when you stay out of your own hometown where you feel attached, and then you face with these things, and back at home you don't have such opportunities still to excel. Yeah, there is no other way you can express yourself rather than just being bitter about it.
Okay. Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa, let me just take this message from Ngwa, my friend, who is residing in the green city of Kumba. Hello, greetings to panelists in the house. As a matter of fact, most of the MPs from the 2 English-speaking regions would not want this crisis to end because their term of office can only be extended through the constitution of this crisis, because they know fully well that without this crisis, many of them never would have attended that position. Ngupor is writing from Akale Street in Boya. Good evening, Mr. Liu and co-panelists. Those at the helm of our communities are just concerned about their families and themselves. Life in Cameroon is what we know as the survival of the fittest. Look at Limbe. The cholera outbreak is back and the cases are increasing by the day at Bota Hospital. Nobody is saying anything, and if you don't have money, just know that you will die of disease. Betombo writing from Limbe. I'm not sure you're going to die because the last outbreak, lots of dispositions were taken by the regional and divisional authorities to take care of that. Just look for information. I'm sure they will take care of you. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm Valunus writing from Amenda. God will bless you for what you are doing. Thank you very much, Valunus. We are grateful. God will bless all of us. Hello, Mr. Liu. We deserve the kind of government we have and that we are experiencing. We do not want to participate in local and national elections, yet we want the elected public officials to represent our interests. Let's be sincere. If the party and the system put them in power, whose interests should they defend or represent? Valérie Tamukong from Boya, founder, president, reach back. Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa, do you also agree with what Ernest has said, that justifying the situation between Cameroon's diaspora and us back here, the hostility is not cordial, not friendly?
Yes, the diaspora, they are not comfortable with the home because of so many reasons. I think one of the major reasons I have gathered so far from those who are the diaspora, their worries, is that they don't feel accepted back home. They are considered strangers in their own father's land. For instance, most of them leave this country out to go and fend. And when they go out there are conditions they have to accept in order to gain stability. Most of them sometimes get married to strange women from those communities, like white women, in order to have their papers. Others have to take nationalities in those countries in order to stay there and consolidate their stay in that country. And after working money for some time, they will always think to come back home to invest. But sometimes when they come back here with another nationality, they are not accepted because Cameroon law does not guarantee dual nationality. I think that's one of the things that disappoints them. From my practical experience and interview with most of them, The second thing is that they always think of coming back home to invest. But the measures put in place here and the government policies put in place really, really strangulate their energy and their desire to invest. Taxation policies, and sometimes to even obtain a license to run a huge business in the country, is a talk of war. That's the second thing. They feel very disappointed because they are not considered as members of this country when they take another nationality. Secondly, the measures put in place, government policies, and the individuals in offices frustrate their efforts to come here and invest. Thirdly, those who even venture to invest cry foul because of taxes. That is to let you understand that they have lived in those countries for so many years, and they have seen how tolerant the taxing system of those countries permit individuals to invest in the private sector and expand. But rather, when they come back home, thinking that they are returning to their own home, where they will have full liberty and the ability also to invest effectively, they are instead facing the backlash of exorbitant taxes. And because of this, it discourages them. The fourth factor that discourages these people is that they study out of the country, come back here with certificates, more experience, competent, enlightened, but when they come, it is who you know, not what you know, that gives an opportunity to work in the country. They've gone out, gather more experience, knowledge, advanced knowledge, to come and better the state of the society, but they are not given the chance and the opportunity to work because they don't have godfathers or whoever stands in any office to give them the chance to display the skill and the talent. I spoke with a gentleman from Australia who came here with a huge project of solar energy, and it was really, really something very sad. I don't want to go into the details. I can imagine how many hundreds of them who've come to this country with giant projects that could create employment for at least 10 to 20,000 Cameroonians. But because of people's selfish interests, those projects were squeezed and dumped in a dustbin. If you put all these factors I have outlined, it can practically tell you why those at the diaspora feel very frustrated, disappointed, and don't want to have anything to do with the country. Rather, you see Cameroonians moving to other African countries now, as the trend is to invest there, because there are more favorable conditions, acceptable conditions, and great opportunities for them to invest. I've seen Cameroonians moving to Nigeria. I've seen Cameroonians moving to Uganda. I've seen Cameroonians moving to Tanzania and Kenya to invest, rather than coming back to their country. So I think we have to look into these things I've outlined. Number one, dual nationality. Number two, opportunities for them to come back with their expertise and leave to the nation. Number three, taxation policies. Number four, create a comfortable atmosphere for individuals to invest in the country. We should not truncate the destinies of young men, suffocate their energy and their drive to make things better for the country. I think if we critically observe these points I've outlined and then give an opportunity for those who are the diaspora to come in, then we're going to have a great change in the country, because the workforce of this nation is in the diaspora, and we think we need them. It goes along as far as even Africa. Africa's strength is in the diaspora. And that's the reason I go to the Bible. All these guys called Joseph and the Jacobs were all in the diaspora. And that's the reason why their communities developed in return. So we think we should create a conducive and a comfortable atmosphere for those who have gone out of the country to still find their way back home. The Cameroonian who left here 20 years ago and has become an American citizen is not changed from being a Cameroonian. It's still a Cameroonian. It's just change of location. A Cameroonian that left here 10 years ago and is in France and got a French citizenship should still be considered a Cameroonian. They should come back home as Cameroonians, because that is where their umbilical cord is tied and that's where their roots are. Let them come back home and give us what they have studied so far. Instead of hiring experts from out of the country to come here, demand huge sums of money from us, Why don't you use Cameroonians who have gone out to gather the same skill back in the country so they can be able to better the society? Because each time we keep bringing in experts in the domain of electricity who stand and earn 300 million per month. Meanwhile, the Cameroonians who have gone out equally studied that same thing, but because they have another nationality, we deny them the privilege. It means strangers are more comfortable in our house than our own indigens.
Good evening to you, Mola Ekema, Abraham Mix, Austin, Augustino, Kofon Clovis, to you, Anita, Eno, and all of you watching via our Facebook handle. We are glad always to note that you always are following and participating in our debates every evening. Is the dual nationality issue the core problem? Dr. Aku?
Dual nationality, to my opinion, I believe is just one.
Okay.
But I want to tell you that government policies have created a more hostile diaspora than it was supposed to be. A lot of people left this country because of enslavement. Some people think that heaven will never meet them if they continue under the same rule. For 40 years, when you maintain, I mean, when we look at the brain, when you look at those who are in power, the people we learned of in 1972 are the same people holding offices in Cameroon up to today. Where do we bridge the gap? Where do we bridge the gap between the new elite and the elite to come, the future elite? The strength of this nation lies in all those who can help in one way or the other. If you look at what we do within our 10 regions, you will imagine that some regions are more fashionable than others, and that some families are more appreciated than others, that after the father, the son will take over, and that after the governor, it should be the governor's son. After the Minister of Defense, it should be the Ministry of Defense position. And if the father was a minister, he too is vying to be at least a governor or the SDO. If you look at what we call the nepotic tendencies in Cameroon, has led others that we can't make it here. When you look at the tax, we very gladly, maybe we might be talking of the tax system. The tax system in Cameroon is one of the heaviest burden that makes even livelihood very difficult. A family in Cameroon will not even be comfortable if there's none or one or two or three of his children abroad. It becomes a problem that in such a nation, the country still thinks that those who are in the diaspora are supposed to contribute and promote the image of the nation. There are few nations with this bond, the sovereign bond between its diaspora and the country of origin. That particular bond is constructed and built on solid grounds. A lot of diasporans, those who are in the diaspora from different nations, have greatly influenced the development back in their country. But that equally proved that the government, they left the hand. By the time they were leaving, people don't leave because the government was poor. People never left because they were maltreated or poorly treated. People never left the country because they were pushed out of the country. You can imagine that in Cameroon today, I used to tell people, the list of the nation you can imagine that somebody, a foreigner, can't live there. Cameroonians are present. The worst human rights environment. I mean, if you go to Libya, you meet Cameroonians. You get to Qatar, they are there. You get to Oman, they will be there. A lot of those countries which we think the story was not good. The enslavement of citizens back at home, that you work with a local company and an individual work with a foreign company in the same domain. He is well paid with a foreign company, carrying the same activity, but in a local company, nobody cares how much you people are paid, because the foreign company depend on foreign laws, while the national company depend on national treatment. National treatment means the rules of law. You can imagine something like the Smith telling us that 36,000 francs is good for a Cameroonian. You work with an American company, they are telling you that the least you can pay an American an hour is $12. If you calculate just an hour for $12, it is better to teach or teach within any school called American school than teach in any school called Tanke or academic complex. You can imagine that, which means that the other person runs a secondary school, this one runs a secondary school, the teachers have different treatment. Can that really explain well? What can we do to overcome this? There are a lot of issues. The government policies, what we call democracy, that democracy is being sung, and that those who are in the diaspora, because they criticize the government back home, when they arrive at the airport, they should be arrested. Bad politics. We have to move out from this particular cushion or this armchair of us that we think that we are super than others. I used to tell people, for us to grow, we must accept everybody, and we must learn to accept criticisms. If we can't accept the criticisms of others, because if the diaspora has become this hostile today, it was not the case 20, 30 years ago. Can we put a question mark? Where did we go wrong? What have we not done to keep the diaspora? In many economies, I will not tell you a lie, get example from Ghana, get example from Nigeria, get the most presiding example from China, that the diaspora are doing greatly. Instead, to innovate, technology have food. Government does not need to bring in experts, like Apostle Ambe was saying. We don't need to bring experts from foreign countries when we have Cameroonians dotted all over the world with a brain that can transform this country. How does it come about that foreigners today still construct us bridges and even roads, and that we are unable to build a 11-kilometer road? A foreign company will do better. There are a lot of these issues which I think the hostile nature of the diaspora is a direct response to government actions and policies made towards these very people before and even after they had left the country. Can we equally sing a welcome to those diaspora whom we think don't share the same idea with us but can help this nation? Let's forget about personal egoism and think of the wealth of the nation. We can make it very great. The present regime, I believe some people have even said that it is over their dead body. Can they even come back to that country? Just get it. There is nothing more than home. There is nothing more beautiful than home. If somebody should sacrifice his country, talk less of those of us who are here, who are even more close to our village. If you keep me away from my village, I simply believe I don't have a life. But how does it come that an individual is unable to come back to his country because he has been placed on a blank or a red or a yellow book for one way or the other, criticizing the nation? And I will equally say that such hostile diaspora has even caused a lot of trouble. We're not talking of the war in Somalia. We're equally talking of a war behind our backyard. A lot of government policies have gotten their diaspora into promotion and financing of insurgency. And it happens globally. It is not a Cameroonian agenda, but I think we can do better. We are not yet there, but I believe a lot of proposals, if the diaspora can integrate, we advise the present regime to do what we call remittance, to at least reconcile with the diaspora. Can we even beg that we are sorry for what we did and that this nation is more important to us than our individual egoistic needs? Okay. The nation Cameroon need to progress. We might end tomorrow, but Cameroon will not disappear. What contribution have we made while we were there when such opportunities are given? The diaspora remains a force. And if you look at the life of Ethiopia, I will tell you that the diasporans of Ethiopian diaspora is doing greatly to develop that particular nation. Those who have been to Addis Ababa will confirm of that.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Kum Leonard. I am Wichi Barnabas in Bamenda. All your programs are interesting and educative. More grace to your elbows. As concerns the MPs, especially those from the Northwest and Southwest regions, they are all from the CPDM. And so they pay allegiance to their party and leadership, and so the population is at a loss. The system needs a complete overhauling. Good evening to you, Barnabas. Good evening, Mr. Leo and the panelists. Good work, please. For Dr. Ako's number, Vicky is writing from Yaoundé. If you need anybody's number, just get to me after the program. I'll share the numbers with you. Hello, Mr. Kum, the guest in the studio. The situation in this country needs to improve in the business, political, and social domain before those abroad can come back to play a role in nation building. Innocent Barizol Photo, writing from Bonaberi in Douala. Good evening, Mr. Lewis. Eric from Bamenda. Diasporans can't create companies because of taxes in Cameroon. That is one fact of this country that is bringing this problem. Let government give diaspora chances to them for their investments. Good evening to all in the house. I am Papu Ngole from Tombel, the monkey. Okay, please, I won't read any insultive message, be it to the government or whosoever. Hi, okay. Any insultive message that you write towards anybody, I won't read it. Good evening, Mr. Leo. It's Kelvin writing from Boya. I abide with Pastor Ambe concerning taxation policies of this country. A friend of mine imported goods worth 15 million francs, but was asked to pay 12 million francs CFA for custom clearance at the Douala port. Other friends of mine prefer to import their containers to other countries because of high taxes in Cameroon. Greetings to you all. I love your programs. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm enjoying the show. I'm in support of Dr. Ako. He's saying about the diaspora by Brice Keleko, writing from Yaoundé. Good evening to you. Brice, good evening, Mr. Kum. I'm Seseko Agbo, writing from Austria. I want to say that Apostle Ambe has said it all. The government is refusing to accept her own citizens back home when they get a foreign nationality. Right at the airport, they start telling you that parce que tu viens de l'étranger, tu penses que tu es qui. It's discouraging a lot. Exuberant tax bills at the ports. You spend a lot of money with containers that can't even give you half of what you spent. A clear example is the musician Richard Bona. Asks why he has refused to or given away the Cameroonian nationality. Okay. Greetings, Mr. Leo. The statement by one of your guests that people sent their stubborn children abroad is ridiculous and uninformed. The diaspora are hostile for many reasons. The government in Yaoundé has made it difficult for them to come back to their place of birth. How can your country tell you that because you have obtained a foreign citizenship, you are no longer a citizen of your own country? Even to clear containers from the port is difficult. Just go to the Cameroon embassy in Washington, D.C. and try to get a Cameroon visa and see how they will frustrate you. What the diaspora see sitting abroad is what Yaoundé is doing in terms of development gets most diaspora angry. The diaspora sends billions of dollars every year to Cameroon. The government is happy to get commissions, but yet preventing them from enjoying their birthright. Thanks, Dr. Wesley Angoni, writing from the United States of America. But how do we explain? Because when you look at the previous decades, they were a little bit more calm, but things are getting very agitated. If you look at the Gabonese diaspora, they're agitated. Togolese across the board in Africa, they're very, very, is it also telling that the world is not also friendlier to them? Things are becoming tougher, and they actually yearn to get back home.
Yeah, most of the countries you cited are Francophone African countries, right? Mm-hmm. And you get to understand that most of these countries are still very much under neo-colonialism. Mm. So the colonial masters left, but they did not entirely leave. So they will still have this kind of mentality that if those who are in the diaspora have to come back in those countries, they are going to change the mentality of those who are on seat, and it is going to fight against neo-colonialism. They are going to change because they have gone abroad and they have learned the ways of the white man, and they won't accept it again, being dominated back in their various homes. This is one of the things that you will see, that the political atmosphere in these Francophone countries and their relationship with those who have traveled, because you know that traveling is schooling. When you've traveled, you change your mindset, you change your perspective about life. So accepting you back into that community, you are not just going like to sit and then begin to move like those who haven't traveled out. You're going definitely to bring in innovative ideas, which will not be sitting well for neo-colonialists. Okay.
So that is the issue. But the world is getting, the world itself, the economies of the world, the economies in most countries are not also very friendly. He raised the issue of racism. To imagine that you have to go through this and you have so much money, difficult to invest back home. And some administrators appointed by government to assist the development of the nations also make it very difficult, because they want to get something from what the diasporans are bringing for their personal benefits and not necessarily to develop Cameroon.
Yes, Mr. Liu, like we've reiterated on this platform, the challenge we have with the diaspora is that things are not the way they used to be some 20, 30 years ago. Europe is not what you used to think. America is not what we used to think. There have been an influx of Asians, Africans, South Americans into these rich continents called Europe and America. And work is not that easy again. The cost of living has increased, and finance is not that available as it used to be. So I think most of them think that their money value will only increase when they leave such places and come back to their country. If at all somebody used to have $10,000 in America in 2 weeks, they can't get it again, because jobs that were done for $100 per hour, individuals are taking that for $25 per hour. So the money value is no longer high as it were. So what do? What they are thinking of doing right now is to get the little money they have over there, bring it over here, because the value will increase. The only way to take that money and cross here with the value increase to invest, your own government, your own authorities, they're the ones standing as the barrier. If you take $10,000 in America, it's not much money. But if you fly with it here, it's about 6 million. That's much money. If you reach that money, you're thinking that the value has increased and you want to invest it in order to establish yourself properly, then the same country which you think you are supposed to be established in are the same people resisting you. There is going to be that animosity. There's going to be that reaction. There's going to be that bitterness against your own state. So most people get frustrated because life is not even that easy anymore again in the Europe and America we used to think. So the little they get, they will have to cross somewhere where the value of that money will increase. And that place is home. That place is home. And that home is where they come from. Will be Cameroon, Ghana, Togo, Nigeria, Liberia. That home should welcome them back and give them the opportunity to build a beautiful house where they left a wooden house. It should give them the opportunity to give pipe bomb water where they used to drink in a stream. To give them the opportunity to put tar roads where they used to walk on earth road. These are the things that when people come and they are not even given the chance to do, they get frustrated and disappointed. Because why? When they fly back with that money in their pocket, it cannot have the same value like it was to have if they were to be in this country and given the opportunity to invest. And that is the more reason why the strength of every nation is when it utilizes and exploits its diaspora. It is high time the government of most countries placed value on those who are the diaspora, because they are bringing it income. Diaspora doesn't take away money. They bring in money. I have not seen people who are leaving Cameroon and carrying money to go to the diaspora. People struggle their way out of this country and instead go and bring money into the country. I think any means that brings money in this country should be appreciated. Nigerians have even gone to the extent where even if you carry criminal acts to bring money in the country, they will embrace you and keep you. Because why? They know if you are bringing money into the system, you are adding value to the system. It is so strange to find out that somebody is bringing money into the system to come and add value in the system, yet we are resisting the person who is coming to add value in the system. Do you know that the income that comes into a country increases the per capita income? But what we have is dangerous. And it's so bad to the extent that if I have to give this balance, is that we resist those who bring in money in the country and also allow those who are taking money out of the country. Chinese are here. They send billions of francs CFA every year into China. There is a huge capital flight. Yet, those who also go out to go and collect the spoils of other countries to bring here are instead resisted. How do you expect an economy to grow when there is a great capital flight out of the country and there's a resistance of capital inflow into the country? That is but easy, calculated economics. That we hinder those who are bringing money into the income in the country, and then we permit those who are sending money out of the country. Go to banks in Accra, go to transfer units in Accra, you will discover that Chinese are making billions and sending out. Almost all the coins in this country, they are finished. Chinese sell in this country and send billions to China. because we don't even have a banking system that forbids you from sending money out. Nigeria, you cannot transfer money into Nigeria, out of Nigeria, more than $500. More than that's the limit. And if you have to transfer a human amount of money in Nigeria, you must have a bank account there, which means when you transfer money into a bank, they must cut charges. Not in Cameroon. Chinese people will sell billions of CFA and go to Western Union and transfer it to China. Now, when the capital flight increases more than the capital inflow, there's already a deficiency in the balance of the economy. So I think we should open the doors more for those who are bringing in money. If I have to be the president in this country, every channel that brings in money in this country should be open. And there should be a resistance of those who are taking money out of the country. That's a balance. And if at all these people in the diaspora are given such opportunity, that if you have 5 million, 10 million, they come in here, you have space to invest. They will be rushing into this country after every 6 months. But some stay there for 5, 10 years. Some even come here after departing, they choose not to come back again. Because the kind of harassment and embarrassment that they face in this country gave them the opportunity to dust their leg and never choose to come back again. So I think that one should be put into serious consideration. All those who are financiers in this country, economists, commerce, remind them.
Okay. Good evening to you, my own brother Kum Esamba, who is watching from South Africa, and to you, Abraham Mix. Good evening to you, Song Derek, Dr. Success Nkongo, who is watching from Nigeria, Uchiba Chundo Nelson. I know you're watching. Good evening to you. How do we strike the balance between the hostile diaspora and existing sitting governments in Africa, Cameroon to be precise?
At times it's going to be difficult because people believe that those who created the situation, it will be difficult for them to fix the situation. And a lot of people tell you that pride, a lot of those bureaucratic tendency. In Cameroon, you see people who tell you that I can never talk to you. Who are you? When they move out of here, they see their own brothers who approach them to talk to them, they still sit on a very high chair. And it has caused a lot of problems. For us to greatly reconcile, we need a change in governance. People should accept transition of power. And that after some studies, a lot of people can equally retreat to see a new way forward. We need a new political elite. We need new elites in general in all domains. Economic, culturally, politically, so that Cameroon can have a new brain. Within the standard that exists, maybe they will tell you that they have created more of good friends abroad, and those friends will help them. People don't even know that there is all about the project of diaspora financing. A lot of countries have carried that into studies and have given them a lot. We cannot compare any other country than Nigeria, that at any time there's a project in Nigeria, the diaspora, you imagine the Minister of Finance in Cameroon, we are always proud these latest days, how many total of bonds Cameroon has sold in the market. But a country like Nigeria, when it is less than 200 billion that Nigeria did, the Nigerian diaspora gives the money on investors. But do you know why? To invest in the country, you cannot give your money where you know that you cannot get it back. Money that when you give in ends in a few hands, which means that for us to get the diaspora really reconciled, there is a need for sanctity. There is a need for sanctity within government, and I believe the present situation or government had a lot to go. They cannot really convince the diaspora again. There is going to be a lot of tussling instances that they cannot really make up. Those who are in government have direct confrontation with those who are in the diaspora, those who are equally involved in financing certain activities back home. If we need to get into reconciliation now, I'll bet you that you will still find imagine, we even have a base they call Labans. Those who are the base abroad, they are out to look for government officials anywhere they want to stay in Europe. Even the head of state was not left out. In one of his meetings in Geneva, we saw how he needed to be assisted by the police of that particular municipality to overhaul Cameroonians' anger. You can imagine if the president can be attacked, to what extent can we reconcile with these people? The president had never come out equally publicly to even appease his own diaspora. Since we are not a communicating type, that we talk little and at times we don't even talk, how do you think the diaspora have a vision to assist the nation to which we are undergoing? There is one general need. We need to see that the diaspora had a lot, they have learned a lot, they have experienced a lot, and that we should humble ourselves. The nation should humble and encourage the people to come back home. A lot of people will not come here because somewhere in the village where he is, there's no pipe-borne water, there's no road, so his families will meet him in Douala and Yaoundé. Just imagine what has been come. If we get to the village, we will be in a haste to come back because water doesn't live. Electricity we call new. It has taken us 70 years. We are unable to get into some villages in and around Cameroon. It is equally shocking. Life is difficult. Can the diaspora really perform or assist when infrastructurally we are not ready? If you need to reconcile with the diaspora, I believe the government should equally carry out a lot of infrastructure activities that can accept investment, that can even accept and support life. We will not be in Cameroon living Douala, Yaoundé, or you're in Kribi and Limbe, and the country ends there. We need to go beyond the central government. We need to go beyond the old practices which we think that those who have money must spend their money but in the city. Can we permit the country all over to feel an impact? Can people be secured? Because you see a lot of, imagine what somebody wrote there. At the level of the airport, you are coming from abroad, a Cameroonian controller may be asking already, you have a rig watch, they start checking the value of that your phone. If you are coming to leave the phone back home or you are going to give a sister, have you paid on that or whatsoever? A lot of disturbance at the various entries. Those who are even what more of entering the country by land. There's a lot of tussle. If we need to attract the diaspora or reconcile with them, the government might equally need to come out with open forgiveness standards. I mean, why not? If there is a need, if we can make missions to Europe to campaign, if we can have parties in Europe representing political parties back home, then we can equally have organizations and institutions that are meant to reconcile the home and the diaspora community. If we can equally have that as institutions or within the various embassies, I believe it's going to do, and it should give us hope. But one of the killer diseases, which will not, a lot of those diaspora are in countries where there is accountability, where there is transparency. People will not like to give their money when they don't know how the money will be used and how they can guarantee a return or the replacement of where the money was coming from.
Good evening, Mr. Leo, and to you all in the studio. I'm really enjoying this beautiful program. I really wish I could have Apostle Ambe's number. I'm Roderick, writing from Yaoundé. Just write to me through WhatsApp after the program. If you need Apostle Ambe's number, I'll send it to you. This one says, I disagree with Apostle on the fact that Cameroonians don't take money out of our country. They do very well, and those are high state officials. They go bury our billions in Europe. Good evening to the entire team and the panel. Ewane is writing from Damas in Yaoundé, I'm sure. Greetings to the honorable panel of Prime over my media Prime. Good evening to you also. Greetings to you, Mr. Leo, and the great men in the house. Mr. Leo, can you imagine that a friend of mine wasn't to buy me a car from Europe that cost 2 million francs, but he told me that to clear that car from the port will cost 3.5, which is very discouraging. Ganson Franklin, writing from Edinau. Good evening, sir. God is sending revival in our country next year, and I believe it will cause changes. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo and panelists. Your program is very educative. Woken Mickey is writing from Bamenda. Good evening in the studio. Please, the volume from the speakers is too low. Thank you. I hope it is better now. Greetings, good Mr. Leo and co-panelists. Indeed, I do appreciate your program. I just wish to say our senators, MPs, and our councillors are just being wicked to the Cameroonian people. Special greetings to you, Apostle Ambe, You're indeed the eye of the nation because you keep touching some key issues that is hindering our nation. Is Motimbe Ebobi from Douala. Hi there in the studio. I'm Joshua Renui from Southwest. How can someone become a born again? Please, this bothers me a lot. Okay, just Apostle Ambe will lead you to Christ. Apostle Ambe, can you lead the person to Christ?
Yes, Joshua, you can be led to Christ. The Bible says in the book of Romans chapter 10, verse 9 to 10, if you believe in your heart the Lord Jesus and confess with your mouth, you shall be saved. That's as simple as ABC. So if you want to give your life to Jesus, you can pray this short prayer with me. It's as simple, it's not magic. Say, Lord Jesus, come into my heart. I know I'm a sinner. Forgive my sins. Wash me with your blood. I accept you today as my Lord and personal Savior. That's all you got to do. If you did that, you are safe. God bless you.
Okay, God bless you too. Now, what should, practically speaking, what should the government do to ensure that they pacify our brothers who are not, brothers and sisters who are not happy out there in the diaspora? Should a commission be created, a special ministry be created to look into their affairs and mission sent, especially to those who are really violent?
Like we have discussed and said, you know, it is not going to be an easy task owing to our state of minds, our pride, putting it all together. And you understand that we have to give opportunities to certain diasporans also to serve in the administration. So to completely pacify the diasporans will be actually an uphill task because it's going to entail a lot of things. So even if the government, the present regime is going to create a commission for that, I don't believe it is going to address all the worries or it is going to completely pacify all the diasporas. So when you look at movements that have come up, like those sponsoring the war in the Northwest and the Southwest, like the BAS movement, what is known, that is a French acronym for Brigade Anti-Sardina, which in essence is attacking those who are in the power. You will see that what the diasporans are trying to do is trying to push for a regime change, and I believe that is what they believe is going to pacify them. That is what they believe is going to like give them back their...
Yeah, but how do we strike a balance? Their ultimate goal is to get a regime change. What if the regime does not change in the next 10 years? What happens?
That is what we're looking at, a situation of a prolonged conflict, a situation of where we find ourselves in chaos until there's a winner. You know, in the case of a war, if there is no outright winner, the war drags on for years. So that is a scenario that can produce itself because there are some concessions that are not just going to be met by the regime in place. We understand that it will be very difficult for everybody to be appeased at the same moment, even no matter what the government will do. Okay, not everybody's going to buy into that. Mr. Leo, this topic is really a good one, especially about us in the diaspora. Our Manu group sent money to the Aya Foundation to take care of the IDPs, and what we heard was that the government blocked the money, but at the same time, we never get the money back. I'm talking about 1 million francs CFA. Good evening to you. Yeah, I need to find. Hello, Mr. Liu. There is a widening gap between the diaspora and their reach back to the nation Cameroon after living abroad. There is this immense self-awakening, exposure, revelation, and transformation of the person. It is a whole other level experience. Then you start seeing how much you can contribute to the development of your local community and nation. Unfortunately, most attempts tend to be futile, inasmuch as the government policies are not friendly, as you have all mentioned in the studio. I believe there is more the diaspora can do. For instance, in order to genuinely develop your community, you need to contextualize your approach and not copy and paste what's working in the diaspora to what should work in the intended community you want to reach back to. Most often, the diaspora think they know too much and know what is best for their community, while in abroad, the diaspora needs to trust those on the ground
treat them as stakeholders in their vision in developing their community and concert with them. Nevertheless, we need the diaspora to develop our communities, by Valérie from Boya. Okay. Yes. Do you understand his prism? There is no trust. You left, you are in the diaspora, you think that you know almost everything more than those who are back here, most of your projects, because the government is true, it may not be helping matters, but there is also that rift between the diaspora and the home communities, your brothers, your friends, your sisters. That rift is not there because you go there, you think that what they tell you now to do is not true. They want to eat your money, they are not serious, and there's also that rift, not necessarily with the government.
I beg to disagree with the person who just submitted that point here, because if the diaspora does no longer trust those who are back home, it could be based on experience.
Okay, yeah.
We have several cases of people who have gone over there, worked money and given back to people here to invest for them.
To build homes.
And they mismanage that. The stories are uncountable.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, even Nigerians have projected that thing through movies.
They take pictures and send to you.
Yes, they send you pictures, and then a lot of people have been betrayed by family members. As a matter of fact, blood brothers and sisters have frustrated so many who have labored their life because they assume that money is in the streets of Europe and America. They think that you don't struggle to get money. So when you send the money here, they squander it. People will take money, go to nightclub, drink alcohol, sleep with girls for somebody who is probably washing their corpses in Europe to make that money. Some sleep in the cold, some sleep under bridges to make money and then send it back to you. You squander it because you think that, okay, either is in Europe, money is everywhere, found in the street, you can pick it. So if you see people react in that manner, it wasn't so in the beginning. It is over time. And when trust is betrayed, when trust is frustrated, it's sometimes very difficult to react normal anymore. So I wouldn't blame any person in the diaspora who doesn't trust people back home here, because experience has proven that most of the people who have gone abroad and entrusted responsibilities in the hands of friends, fathers, brothers, sisters, they have been frustrated at the end. So I think that point doesn't really stand. Secondly, that conception that when you are abroad, you are better off than those who are at home is becoming obsolete. Very, very obsolete. Because most of them who have traveled abroad and come back here, they have found out that there are individuals in the country who are far more better than them. As a matter of fact, my experience with those who have come from abroad has proven to me that they have nothing to offer. It's not pride. I've had so many of them come with very big language, and you want to go about, they are doing the same normal thing that most of us who are around here, we are doing. They are buying lands, we're buying lands. They are building houses, we're building houses. They dress well, we even dress more than some of them. So when you talk about somebody come, it is in those days that there was that euphoria, that when somebody comes from America and then we begin to no. It's gone past that level. People are not carried anymore by those who come. When you say you are from abroad and you come, it doesn't, because I've seen many of them who have come around, practically, they don't have what we used to think.
Yeah, so, but is it not because times are also becoming difficult?
I said it here earlier. Things are becoming difficult in Europe and America. And that's the reason the little they get there, they must rush here, because when they enter here, the value of the currency increases.
And they want to invest.
And they want to invest. And then they come, the government gives them exorbitant tax. It frustrates them. Most of them just go back, I don't want to come back again, because why? The value of money increases when they change continent and come here. So that sense of some Superman coming from Europe and America is no longer there. You don't come from America and intimidate us here again in Africa. Even girls don't get carried again by the so-called bushfaller stuff anymore. It doesn't move people. It doesn't. The issue is we are agitated in Cameroon here because we want to give a better place for them to come back and bring money into the system and pump it so that money can circulate freely into the system. Not that you are hearing somebody come from America. You come from America or from Britain or from Canada, it doesn't move us anymore. It's not, we don't shake.
Okay, thank God for you sitting there. The best revivers of Africa will pass through Cameroon. That is the only answer. The reels with substitute the stagnant people's God's declaration. Please, for the apostles' number, Apostle Delight, just write to me after the program, those of you who want apostles' number. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I really love this topic. Even a quiet person becomes violent whenever he or she travels. you see good roads and start asking yourself why we can't have such good roads back home. The funny thing is we have all the materials needed. That is just an example. The whole thing falls on bad faith and poor policies from their leaders. Greetings to all in the studio. Spokesman writing from Poland. Good evening to you, spokesman. Good evening, Mr. Kum. I really do appreciate you all in the house and the impacting programs carrying out, especially this one today. More wisdom to you all. Regards to Dr. Ako. Barrister Tabe is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Such a nice topic. I enjoy it. Gracious writing from Muyuka. Good evening to you, Gracious. Good evening to all in the studio. Mr. Liu, I must say your program is very educative. Marvin writing from Boya. Good evening to you, Marvin. Good evening, Mr. Kum. The only way to pacify the diaspora is that the government should allow them back in the country and reduce taxes to encourage investments. But they won't, because they don't want to open the economy for the diaspora, which is going to liberate the country and free the common man from misery, thereby detaching the masses from so dependent them. Good evening, Mr. Liu and all the idealists, the panelists. I'm enjoying the program. Stefan is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the panelists of today's program. Mr. Liu, people like Apostle Ambe, the Kangaroo Man, Dr. Ako, etc. are the cause of the runaway CPDM people invited to your program, because they always give facts while CPDM people always try to satisfy party hierarchy for personal gains. Okay, Roland is writing from Bamenda. Now, Dr. Ako, the issue of the non-respect, so yes, respect for this call for the imposition of or the acceptance of dual nationality in Cameroon. Is it political? Is it the fear that these guys in the diaspora could make so much money and then come back to vie for positions in Cameroon and take up positions? What is about in persons with foreign experiences coming to man things back in Cameroon, becoming mayors and also for others? Would they not change things? And is it also a guarantee that somebody who is from the diaspora handling a position in Cameroon would succeed? We've had the case of the former mayor of Muyuka. He has been in the US for a long time, talking about the owner of Charlotte Hotel. We also have the case of the former mayor of Tico, who is the owner of is 13. Tita Fombot, yes. Yeah,
one of the things I need to tell you is that not revising or revisiting the 1968 law on nationality is egoistic. Egoistic in the sense that politics have allowed, not that they don't accept it. A lot of government officials have dual nationality in Cameroon, a lot of them.
Okay.
We cannot even say that. They don't pronounce it openly. They will hit when it doesn't profit them, when they know that the individual that has a foreign nationality can bring them more of problems. They will hit on you. But when it doesn't get, they don't gain, most often politically. You can imagine within the biased nature to what extent Cameroon can go. If you can profit the country politically, if you can profit the country economically, they care not about it. Will you support the movement of the head of state? If you come from the diaspora, you have a French nationality, support the party in power. Bring the million and see how you become the next parliamentarian you will become. Nobody knew that a lot of Africans, a lot of Cameroonians who left abroad came here as mayor. You just cited a few. There are a lot of parliamentarians in Cameroon whose position was negotiated abroad before they even arrived Cameroon, and that they were successfully received. It is one of the parts that gives us the idea that those who are called leaders in Cameroon are there because they are taking care of just their families and their stomach, and that if there is anything they have to do to prevent others from getting there, they will do it. How do we refuse? In a world we call a world of globalization, we are members of the CIMAC. Remember, one of the rules of CIMAC states that free movement of persons, goods, and capital, and that we want to move on that. This is Cameroon fighting and criticizing Equatorial Guinea, who was about building a fence to protect his own border in QC. At the same time, the government of Cameroon is refusing its own nationals who are abroad from coming in because they don't support or they think they are hostile to the nation. The continual refusal equally becomes what I said, politically motivated. Politically motivated because the constitution of Cameroon, since it is one that gives mandate and renews and overlaps, in fact, the constitution has suffered so many amendments which have gone in line to support the party in power. But what is wrong with this particular law on dual nationality? A Nigerian born in Cameroon has a birth certificate from Hôpital General and refuse the Cameroon national identity card and giving a Nigerian resident permit, a Cameroonian resident permit. Does that even give us an idea? You are telling this Nigerian that no matter how long, wherever you are born, you will one day go back to Nigeria. That should not be the concern of Cameroon. If we wholly accept dual nationality, I have told people, I've been telling people several times that it's going to be a reward for the nation, though not an individual reward. I was caught because I have a lot of students that were born in Douala. And imagine them going back to Nigeria to look for a Nigerian passport. Is that really necessary? Are we not losing here? If you go to those Nigerians whom we have miraculously made them to become Cameroonians. Remember that they are Nigerians too. To get it better, they now take the name Tawamba and tell you that it's Tawamba Che. And so he was born in Bamenda. And that goes now quietly. You don't know anywhere there's a Nigerian. But now in Cameroon, it's called Che. When it crosses the border, it's called Ngwa. And so it goes like that. One person living on two names. Don't we think there is an ideal path that this Nigerian need to feel home and that we need to let them? We know what happens accepting diaspora. A lot of diaspora who have noble nationality in your country, if you give them the idea that their property, their children, their lives are secured, they are ready to go a step ahead. Nigeria cannot make money in Cameroon and still have that fear that one day we may close their accounts and call them enemies' properties and they will be asked to leave. Like it happens sometimes. We talk of Ghanaians must go home. There's a lot of conflict. We need to accept dual nationality to give the openness to the world market, to encourage people to even come more. Americans don't care. They simply need you that for the time you are demanding for American nationality, just show us continuous resident that you have not moved out for 5 years. So if you have been in American territory, you have not gone home for 5 years, then really you show interest, how you can support that particular nation. You can become anything in the United States. So we know the cases of Arnold Schwarzenegger. We can even talk of the Barack Obama. If not of dual nationality, meaning people like Obama would have maintained back their parents' nationality. There's a lot in human development. There's a lot economically. There's a lot culturally. When you accept double nationality, it will mean that somebody on retirement from even Philippines can decide to settle him in Cameroon and has heard that Cameroon, just the level of economy like we're discussing here, a lot of those guys that have worked money abroad need from what we call financial heavens, where they can spend their small money on their retirement without really stress. Bringing in $20 million here to spend, Mr. Leo, your life will be in heaven. Meaning you are on retirement and that Cameroon accept you become a national, you can construct, you can invest. You can now engage in politics. You can engage in politics. That is the fear. That is the fear. Because a lot of government officials will think that, meaning if they bring much of that their money, which we are even against foreign financing for elections, because the law even went above that any political party that receives assistance from abroad may be charged for financial fraud. And so this are all I call the contours that has given this government the right and the feel that they don't need double nationality. Let's think of the life of the nation. Cameroon is better with one person with dual nationality that can invest and generate us the job, because we need the jobs than we need the politicians. Okay. Greetings to all the panelists, especially my namesake Ebui, man. The day a private member bill will go through Parliament, then we will know that the MPs and senators render account to the people and not the government. Or better still, if they ever organize question and answer sessions in their constituencies, I salute all the Tole people. Ebui Emmanuel, writing from Tole. Good evening, Mr. Leo and the great minds. The topic is a topical one which really needs scrutiny. My first reaction goes to the elected representatives of the local councils and parliamentarians. One may be tempted to say that they are not representing their constituencies because of the inadequate accountability to the local franchise. Second, most of them were not the people's choice.
so they owe no responsibility within their area of origin. Thirdly, the influence of the party ideologies also deterred them from checks and balances. Molombe Hans is writing from Boya. Good evening, Mr. Liu, to all the panelists here. Your topics are always soul-searching. More wisdom, sir. Thank you, Daisy from Kumba. Now, Ebui says to pacify diaspora, the head of state should fulfill his promise while in Paris, dual nationality. I hail all the panelists. Okay. Mr. Liu, a sizable majority of diaspora of Southern Cameroonian origins have come to the conclusion that dual citizenship bans was designed to keep the Southern Cameroonians out. To them, the only way to feel free and develop their community is a free Southern Cameroons. That is why they will continue to fund this war for years if nothing changed in the Cameroons. Okay. This one says, watching from Boston, Massachusetts, USA. I am enjoying the program, Mr. Liu. I need to invite you to the United States to see for yourself. Amen. Okay. When is the invitation coming, my brother from Massachusetts? Let me also try now to Fort Bush. Who knows? I may find my luck over there. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and all the panelists on the platform. My question is simply, every day you have very educative talk on the platform. Yes, has the government of Cameroon ever taken advice from the people of this country? If yes, what? If no, why so? Okay, we have to keep talking. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm more delighted with the ideas of Apostle Ambe. He is a realist and very pragmatic. I love the program and the topic of the day, Elangwe, is writing from Ebolova. Good evening, Mr. Kum. What kills Cameroon now is that the government does not think about the common man like the days of our late President Amadou Ahidjo. Alem Oliver, writing from Cape Town. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Apostle Ambe just set my mind. Econ is a great example when it comes to dual nationality. Look at what happened with the election. The Fekafoot President Clifford, writing from Kombe. Good evening, Mr. Leo and co-panelists. I'm called Mungambe Dixon from Limbe. I must say I enjoy your eye-opening programs. We just have to end here. Unfortunately, we cannot read all the messages. Thank you for coming, Mr. Ernest Ebui.
Thank you so much.
And also to you, Dr. Ako, thank you for coming.
Yeah, Mr. Leo, in fact, I'm saying that the diaspora is ready to help Cameroon. Can our government humble itself? Okay. Humility sets the price to get to heaven.
Thank you.
We need to be proud. All of us need to be humble.
Apostle Ambe, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. Thank you, Cameroonians. Always a joy to be here.
We want to thank Eli and Desmond for producing this program, and we are so grateful to all of you who took time off to watch this edition of the program, especially those of you who sent text messages. It shows and encourages us to know that you are watching the program every evening. Tomorrow we are going to be looking at the 32 years existence of the Social Democratic Front. The anniversary took place across the nation today. What is the balance sheet of the Social Democratic Front that was created it was launched some 32 years ago in Bamenda. We also are grateful to you, Tabi Tambe Bryant, who is supervising the work we do out here. Stay blessed.